Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I'm your host here, Chantele Francis, with my amazing co-host, Ron. How are you today, Ron?
I am just fine. Beautiful weather here in Niagara. Hope it's like that up in Toronto. Hope it's nice weather where everyone is because it's the first day of spring.
It is
We
the
got
first day
through
of spring.
winter.
Oh, I mean, the years are going by and the seasons are going by, and I really don't leave my house that often since COVID started.
Yeah.
But it's just really nice to know that, yesterday I turned off my heater because it
Oh,
was it was hot, and I was like, oh, I love when I can turn off the heater. And like right now it's like no heater, and then air conditioning will come when it gets like super hot, 40 degrees style. But it's just nice to know that the heater's off,
oh,
and it's
so
probably off for good. I don't feel like there's a snowstorm coming because it's so beautiful outside right now.
let's hope not. Fingers crossed.
I mean, we have gotten one in May before, haven't we?
Yeah, that was many years ago though. That shouldn't happen now. Like we might get some in April. You never know, but it typically happens. But let's hope not. I'm hopeful for nicer days for everybody.
Me too. I'm so happy to maybe see a few little buds on trees. It's like it's just such promise of new beginnings. So I love the
Absolutely.
spring, and thanks for reminding me that today is the equinox. So let's talk about Australian Survivor. Do you have any
Oh, yes.
overall thoughts of these past 2 episodes? And what's your thought process on the season so far?
So I I'm slowing down on I'm not slowing down on the love. I will always love Australian Survivor. I'll always love Survivor, but it's just getting to that kind of point where it's so routine. Like it just seems like they're going through the motions, and I wonder if the producers are just trying to make us think that there's a lot more drama going on than there actually is, because the votes happen and you're like, well, I'm done. I like that person's left, and it just seems like it was bound to happen regardless. So we got a majority alliance that's just taken over the game. Happens, but I think now we've seen so many twists and turns that you're waiting for more. So just excited to see some twists and turns.
Well, like you make a good point that I think okay, so I'm thinking what I'm not enjoying. Like I like the season a lot better than many seasons that I've watched. So it's just me really judging it up against last season, which I thought for me
Yeah,
was the best season I think I've ever seen. But it could just
yeah,
be recency bias. But it was just so good the whole way through. I didn't find that there was like a dead episode,
yeah.
or I for sure knew what was going to happen. Like I was kept on the edge of my seat the whole time. So, and I enjoyed the winners and the final two and all that stuff. Like I thought that it was really full, like a thumbs up scene for pretty much all
Mhm.
aspects. Absolutely. And so this season, it has like a lot of great characters, like, but I guess there's not anybody that I'm really rooting for that much. Um, I find that maybe because it's blood versus water, is that half the cast is playing hard and the other half isn't. I don't wonder if that's what it is, and
Yeah,
that the people that are like have both duos that are playing hard are able to take control. Like I'm just trying to figure out what it is that's not allowing it to be dynamic, because everybody's just sitting ducks now. Like we know that it's like,
yeah,
who's going to be leaving pretty much next and next and next and next,
yeah,
because they haven't been playing, they haven't been showcased in the TV show at all. So we kind of know that they're just not relevant. And
yeah.
so I'm just trying to figure out what went wrong with this season, because I felt like it started off with a really good group of characters.
Yeah, for sure. There's some, yeah, like you said, there's some great characters. There's like it was a really good group. It could be that half of them are probably people who really really wanted to play, and then half of them were just like, oh, I need a pair. And I hate to see if that was to happen, because it's kind of like
Well, we wouldn't have gotten Chrissy. I think Chrissy is like,
well,
can you come on the show for me?
and I mean, so I was trying to change my background so that it was Chrissy, because I still got massive love for Chrissy, even though she's in an alliance that I hate. But I love her as a person, so I'm just trying to focus on the people that are good characters. And I think right now there's just like kind of meh. Like there's some, there's not, but we've got a twist in the game that might bring some interesting characters and maybe a bit better gameplay, hopefully, back into see that now and need to roll your eyes, but
Hi, Teshmong. So, hey, I wish I could watch now, but I'm watching Big Brother South Africa Final Veto Challenge. I can't get distracted. Ooh, that's something that I wouldn't mind taking a little watch at. So maybe I'll watch that after. I love a good Big Brother season, and so the fact that they have a veto, because like most of the other seasons or like the other franchises don't have like competitions, and it's usually more of a popularity contest. So I will maybe take a little peek and see how that is. Hi, CD. So hello. Jordy, Sam, and Mike are kind of getting the winners edit. Absolutely. So out of those three, who do you think is going to win? Mark, not Mike.
Yeah.
Mark.
I'm thinking it's gonna be Mark. So Mark and Sam pretty much got this locked in the bag.
I'm thinking that they might be pushing for Jordy. Because like with how these episodes go down, like it seems like they're doing everything to make sure that he stays in the game.
For sure. He's fighting hard. He's got the tenacity. He could pull it off. You never know, right?
He has the best story. If he gets to the end, he wins for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
So CD also says, what was the point of episode 16, 17, 18? Because only Michelle is really voted out. Yeah. How do you feel about that? I mean, we're going to talk about episode 17 and 18. Yeah. I'm a little bit annoyed personally.
Yeah. I mean, I wish that there was a move made so that there were some people that were eliminated that would have been a little more interesting. But the fact that it's just Michelle, like the twins were just disappointing. And it sucks because like that whole thing just seemed like all for naught, like CD said. And you want to believe that they were fighting super hard to get back in the game. But I just don't know if Michelle was, because she was happy with everybody who got back in. And it's like, the three that got back in were for sure going to be the three that got back in. So,
oh yeah, I called it. I was like, okay, that's
like we could just move along.
Hi, Jimmy. Good day.
Good day, Jimmy.
Mark is winning. Okay, yes, not Mike. Okay, so if Jordy stays, he wins because all those people who are out see him as the underdog against the majority. Absolutely,
sure.
Like
he already has a jury that loves him. Like he's got his brother on the jury that's going to be talking him up nonstop. And there's people who are going to be like, well, he's trying to make a change and no one else was. So they'll probably respect that. And if he's able to make it work, I mean, it changes the mentality. It was just a few weeks ago, we were going, oh God, can't wait for him to lead the game. And now it's like, he's the only shining hope for a little bit of chaos.
Correct. But I also still find him annoying. But I respect his game, and I do still think he's he could win this game. I just find him annoying. So that's just my own personal like irritation level. He hits it at max.
Yeah.
So we start episode 17 with Shay on Purgatory. She feels alone and she makes some sort of shelter. Would you be able to handle going on Purgatory by yourself?
God, no. God, absolutely not. No way, no how. That shelter she made looks really good. I'm surprised. Good for her for making that, and good for her for being able to survive. I mean, I say that I wouldn't be able to because I don't want to be living outdoors like that, but I think you would find that inner strength. Everybody could dig down deep and say, I'm doing this because I want to win. And so that would have to be the driving force behind it.
Good point. I do find Jordy annoying, and I do find Mark boring as well. Like that's what I'm saying. Like the makeup of the players were so like I was looking forward to how they were all going to play, and it seems like we got the boring ones left in the end at Jordy. Like I would have loved for somebody going toe to toe with Jordy earlier on, like, but they took out anybody that could be an adversary there, and so yeah I agree. I do.
I agree as well.
Sam getting the idol, she guaranteed a win for her, but I think Jessie is bitter about it. I really don't see her winning. I like her though. I'm not sure about her win condition at this point.
I can't see her win condition considering how much of a target she is. And the fact, in all honesty, there's going to be, if she's at the end with a guy, there's a lot of boys sitting on that jury that are going to look at the man and say, he did the damn thing and he won. She's made some decent moves for sure. She's got to get credit for that. But I think
people are
gender,
like, we see Michelle hates like the fact that if she had makes the move that they're talking about, of her stealing Jesse's idol, like people aren't respecting that, it seems. And so if Michelle is going to be talking that in the jury, and Jesse talking about how snaky she was or whatever, like she could lose a lot of votes for sure. And she allowed all of her players to be taken out. So Con, I'd be like, you'd think that you'd have Con's vote locked in, but she voted him out, and she allowed her husband to be able to dictate the people that she was working with's future. So I think that she's burned too many bridges to be able to win against anybody other than the other women.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Sam. Yeah, I mean, against the other women, maybe, but I don't think she could win against any of the men. Chrissy can only win if there's a bitter jury that gives her the win, just so people next to her won't win. Possible.
She's going to struggle with the final answers. That's going to be the tough part, is having to think on the fly and really formulate the argument, I think. I don't see Chrissy, as much as I love her, being able to get to the end and formulate the arguments as to what she did in order to win the game, because I don't think she came into the game thinking she could necessarily win. I think she was definitely doing it for Croc.
Totally agree. And I think that she might be kind of joke about things and be like, I don't know how to do this. And like kind of just playing up on the fact that she was outside of her comfort zone, which is great. But I don't think that people that are gamers are going to want to award the win of their season with somebody that didn't know how to play the game, that got there by chance more so. So yeah, I don't think she has a chance, but I love her. Every move Sam makes just makes Mark look better. Jeez, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So true. So we have Sam calling out Jordy, and Jordy calling bullshit on Sam for Sam saying that she's going to use the idol on him. So now Jordy is definitely gunning for Sam. But wants to vote out Mark instead of Sam. So hopefully that Sam misplays the idol. What do you think of this plot of Jordy?
It's a smart way to go about doing it, because I think he thinks that Mark would do anything to protect Sam so that he had that number in the game. But in all honesty, I don't really see Mark trying to protect Sam if it means him having to leave the game. He's playing for himself, and I kind of respect that in some ways. But at the same time, if you're willing to just throw your wife under the bus just so that you can keep an idol, like, what does that really say about you? And I would be looking at that at the end. So Jordy wanting to go after Mark is smart, but I don't know that he would have even the backing for it.
Yeah, I don't think he has a social capital right now because of that. The committee, it's too many people. Yeah, it's just he doesn't have the numbers of people that would be willing to turn. So Chrissy does tell Jordy who's in her alliance. I'm like, Chrissy, you got to keep some of these things a little bit quiet. Like, yes, he can see who's most likely been voting together for the last little while, and like he was kind of part of that alliance before he got ousted. But she does believe what Jordy is saying about Sam, and she does intend on asking Sam about it. So I don't know if it happens right now, but Sam decides that she's not going to come clean about the idol to anybody. What do you think about that strategy?
She's digging herself a hole by not telling anyone else about it, because at some point she's going to have to play it. And when she does, people are going to be mad at her. They're not. I hate this. It's a double-edged sword. I hate it for her, but at the same time, I totally would be, well, you just lied to us the whole time. So why, I hate that I trusted you, because now I sacrificed my game because of you. But at the same time, she can lie and she can protect it. Great, fantastic job. I just think if she wants to have that trust and protect herself and Mark and move forward, she should tell somebody to really make it solidified.
I think the problem is the people that she would tell most likely either is Dave, who I think he'd react emotionally, and she would not be able to work with. Like, he wouldn't be able to work with her anymore. Chrissy might be, take it personally as well, and immediately not trust her or want to work with her. And then with the cousins, like, I think they'd just be like, well, F you guys, like, we'll go take these numbers elsewhere and let's vote you guys out. So I think that they're kind of, in a chokehold here with being honest and trying to show trust within an alliance. And then also knowing that you kept that to yourself too long, that now if you were to share it with them, it doesn't look good for you. It's not helpful.
Sure. Agreed.
So she's in a shitty situation. We see Jordy and Josh in the water. And Jordy's realizing that he's having a battle getting people to believe him. And it's because he's so skittish. He's so like all over the place that it's actually coming back to haunt him a little bit here, for the fact that nobody fully believes that he's telling the truth because he's so chaotic.
Yeah.
Sucks to be Jordy.
Yes.
So Sam is telling Dave and Jordan that Jordy is a jury threat with the underdog spirit, which we've kind of all talked about. And I think this is the right move. I do think that she needs to continuously paint Jordy as somebody that could win. And she needs to start painting herself like, and I'm like the bad person. Like, I'm the bad guy. So I need to stay here as well, because like nobody will vote for me. It's like, she's going to have to play that card for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam and Chrissy are talking, and Sam is explaining why she's acting so nervous because like she's like, well, everybody's going around talking to the people and I don't know what they're talking about and talking about me. Sam is just not great at looking chill.
Zero chill. And you gotta have some. Like, I get it's paranoid, but like, look at how everybody else is kind of acting around you and follow suit. Like, maybe the chill part is the paranoid part in her. Like, everybody else being chill is making her worse, but it's not doing her any favors.
I have to say, though, that I can't remember who was most annoyed about it. It might have been KJ, but they were talking about her and like about getting her out. And like, so the fact that I think it was KJ was saying like, why is she acting so skittish? Like, but it's like people are talking about her, so she did have a right to feel like nervous. And so I found it interesting that people don't expect her to react when people literally are plotting to take her out. Literally. So we get a reward challenge for an Isuzu MUX. How do you like this vehicle?
Who's excited for an Isuzu?
I would take that car in a second. I love they stopped doing that on US Survivor, and I used to love the car when you get the car reward challenge. So good.
I would be fighting for a car, I think, over the cash, unfortunately. I think it's just because the car it's a target, makes you a target, but it doesn't make you as big as a target as somebody who's just walking away with a pile of cash. Like, but
I'll take a pile of cash too. But
well, I mean, I'm not going to be greedy. I'll take whatever I get.
I mean, I do think that I would use somebody getting the car as a reason, like they already got something, so let's make room for somebody else to get a prize. So
that was a strategy for a lot of the people who ended up winning cars in the US season. They called it the car curse. So if you won the car, you were not destined to win the game. And, there's only, I think, one person who won a car through being chosen for a reward, but they didn't win the car themselves. And that was Amber in All Stars. But
Rob got the car, though, no?
Rob won the reward, which won the car, but by choosing Amber to go on the reward, she got a car.
Was that the movie theater one, or watching a movie? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they watched Lord of the Flies.
Oh my God, that's the movie that they watched.
It's such a good movie and
I
such a
know,
good
but not
book.
romantic or anything. Just like knowing that this was like their romance story. You know what I mean? Like
My first date, dirty in the back of a new car, watching a movie made in the 1950s. Who doesn't want to do that?
It wasn't in the 1950s. Lord of the Flies?
There's two versions of it that were
Oh.
made. So the book was written, I believe, in the 1930s or 40s, and then there was a movie made. It wasn't the 50s. Had to be the 60s. And then there was another one made in the 90s.
In like the 80s or 90s. Okay.
90s.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking of.
I
All the
love that
kids.
book.
But it's still like, kids, didn't they turn to cannibalism and like, they just got wild on an island with some.
I think they might have killed another kid, but like, I mean, what are you going to do? He had it coming.
He had it coming. He had it coming. Yeah, no. Yes, I agree, Tashmong. So every move that Sam makes just makes Mark look better. Yes, I feel like Mark would throw Sam under the bus if he feels like he has to. Yes, you just said that as well. Mark is playing for himself to win, and he's not playing. He doesn't care whether it ruins Sam's game at all. Hi, Danielle. Thank you for being here. So Danielle says, hey, y'all, catching your first time catching it live. I love Australian Survivor. It's so good. I mean, it's so, like, the bar is high. So when I critique this show is because, like, I have it up here. I still think that this season is better than the 30s for the most part of US Survivor. So,
For sure.
It's still good. So it's weird that they are not believing Jordy because he didn't lie to Josh about Mark's idol, but he's in a position where he's going to do whatever it takes to stay in the game. And so people are running that filter through everything that he does, is that, he's trying to find anything to put a crack in our alliance. And there's savvy enough game players to know that the people on the bottom are going to try to find a crack in the alliance in order for them to stay. So it just makes it everything that he says seem like there might be an ulterior motive because, he's coming up with this now as what he wants to use to try to put in a wedge in our alliance. So it's just a challenging position for him to be in, especially him also being someone that is so unruly and willing to do anything. And it just seems like he's untrustworthy, even if he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
Rooting for Jordy. Okay. I mean, I think that he's definitely in a winning position. I wouldn't be surprised if he won. I think he would be a deserving winner. Absolutely. Right now, I think I want him to win the most, to be honest. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of Jordy, I think I want him to win the most.
Yeah, I think in terms of what you want to see as a winner at the very end of the game, he's kind of embodying it. So, like, he just isn't. He might be a little flashy, but at least he's trying to shake it up and he's trying to do anything to survive. Where people are just kind of like living at this point, like they're just kind of there, and they're just going day by day through the motions. Where he's fighting to get back. So.
I want everybody to be fighting as hard as Jordy is fighting to be in this game. Like, it's just wild to me how people are just so complacent and just so like, okay, well, I'll just wait for my time to be taken out of the game. Like,
Nope.
I mean, I don't know how I'd be in Survivor, like in the real deal, but I know that when I played the Survivor for a weekend, the stakes were quite low. It was like $500 was the winning prize, that I was fighting to stay in there. I tried everything when, like, I got transferred to I did a tribe swap, and I was the only person from my original tribe on this new tribe, and like I tried everything that I could to stay. I stayed one round. It worked for me one round, and then I couldn't get it to work the second round, even though what I said would have been better for the people, because anyways, what I said to them, if it had worked, they would have lasted longer in the game.
Yeah.
but they didn't want to believe me because they're like, well, you're going to say anything because you want to stay in there. And I'm like, but this is the truth. And so this is kind of echoing what's going on with Jordy here, is that like when you are in a position where you're going to do anything that it takes to try to stay in the game, it doesn't allow your words necessarily to hold a lot of weight, because they think that, oh, you're just saying whatever you can to hopefully get things to change. So it's, even in a low stakes game, that happens. But in a low stake game, I was also still trying everything that I could. So it just, I can't believe that some of these people that are in a better position than I was ever in this game, that they are not trying harder.
Yeah. What I've said, just to try to win $50 in a game, it doesn't pales, like what they're doing pales in comparison to what I would do just to win $50. And I don't even take the money. I don't even take it. I just want the win. And it's like, you've played the game, you know how it is. Like, you'll do whatever it is, and it's that mentality you gotta have. Like, let's play, let's try hard. Let's
like,
not just
I couldn't just be like, if I'm on that show, there's nothing else to do other than try to win, right? Like, that's my objective, would be to go on the show to try and win this game. So there would be no downtime. There would be no like, I'm watching Big Brother Canada right now, and this one player, Betty, she was like, she potentially was going to be going up on the block at one point, and she's like, it was 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. and she's like, oh my God, people are already scheming. I was like, she has, like, I haven't even had breakfast yet. I'm like, there would be not one moment in time when I'm in that Big Brother house where I wouldn't be scheming and strategizing as to how I can win the game. Like, there was no off switch when you're in the game.
You take your Wendy's, you go to the HOH room, and you start strategizing regardless of what time it's dropped off at. You have to be playing the game at all times, and that's what makes it stressful, but that's why you're there. You're there to play the game. If you're not there to play the game, then fuck off and let somebody else take that spot.
And don't complain about other people that are still playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's why I'm a little bit disappointed with everybody else, because like I would kill for that opportunity. Lord of the Flies it for that opportunity. And like, these people are so lucky that they get to potentially win a really life-changing amount of money the easiest way you really can. Like, it's, these game shows are, you have a better chance of winning the money than you would if you were on The Price is Right or on like any of the other game shows of like our past. And so I wish that people were playing harder. And so that's why I totally agree with you, Danielle, that I am rooting for Jordy for the fact that he is not just laying down. And I respect that 100%. We love Chrissy too here. We don't think she'll win either. Ron was saying that he does think that she might get to the end, but won't be able to really do well with the format of the final tribal. Hi, Agent Secret. Is Queen Chrissy still in it? Queen Chrissy is still in it, girl. The family bits made me cry. Did not cry. Surprising.
I always get teary-eyed when the family stuff do come up, because I put myself in the same position, and I didn't get teary-eyed because we saw Brianna, and I just didn't care for
Brianna. Oh my gosh!
It's like, you're back. Oh God.
Oh, but she was giving such good things to her dad. That's sweet. We'll get to that in one sec. So what happened on this reward challenge? I'm reading my notes, and like, it's not. So gather bags of balls, roll into holes at end. Jordan is the only person not in it. I'm like, what?
They had this, it's a challenge where they have kind of the table that you have to manipulate with your hands to move the ball up and down, like a little bit of a ramp. And then you have to get the balls into little holes, like little cups. The same challenge they did for the veto on Big Brother Canada last week, similarly. Mm-hmm. This one, though, typical Survivor is just like you roll it down and you get it into one little platform. They had to get it into different arms of the platform. So
okay, I'm kind of remembering now.
Yeah, and Jordan just had no shot of winning.
Why was he so bad at it?
He wasn't getting his balls.
Okay. Was that the balls where you had to like dig and then you had to? Oh, okay.
He had to dig, and he just wasn't finding the balls in the spot where.
I remember, but Jordy Tenacious Jordy does end up winning, and he's going to take on his reward with him, Jordan, Dave, and Michelle. So this is his 4th challenge win in a row. So this looks very good to the jury.
Yeah.
And what do you think about his choice of people that he's took with him?
Well, besides being like one of the most boring group of people to take on a reward, I mean, strategically, it kind of makes sense. He wants to talk to Jordan because Jordan can get into the ear of Josh. Dave is somebody who's a little bit on the outs, and he wants to solidify more of a relationship with Michelle. So he has a group of people that he can kind of say, "Hey, I gave this to you," and then maybe by extension help him out in some way. But I don't know if this is the most strategic group of people to take on the reward in terms of like actual people who can contribute to strategy, because these are 3 people who we have not seen really give anything in terms of strategy.
Yeah, not so much. So they do get to have Mexican food and margaritas. This would be my favorite. I'm obsessed with guacamole and margaritas.
This would be my favorite as well. Nachos would be the thing I'd be craving because I crave those every day anyways. And margaritas. And then when they say it's a movie, I'd be really excited. But the movies they actually got to see would make me even happier, especially being out there for so long.
Right. So we do get to see on this movie. It's funny when I was watching with Sarah, she's like, "Oh, what's the movie going to be?" And I said, "Family." And she's like thinking in her head, like, "Oh, what movie's Family?" and then I'm like, and then she figured it out. So Jordy's dad comes on the screen, gives him obviously a little bit of a message. Jordan's little brother shows up. Michelle's mom, and Dave has his wife and daughter Brianna, who was on the show as well. So I'm surprised that you're so mad at Brianna. I thought it was nice to see her because it was still her dream, and like her dad's still in it enough to get the family visit. I would be pretty pumped about that.
I just don't like Brianna.
Okay. That's fine.
Happy people make me a little cringy. No, I'm kidding. No, should she even be able to participate in something like that, considering the game is still going on? Like, I didn't realize they just send them back home. Like, is it not as top secret as the US Survivor?
Well, I guess because they are in Australia.
True, and they can't really send them anywhere else. So what are they going to do? Send them to?
So like maybe they let them stay in Ponderosa for like a few days and then send them back home. What's the point of keeping them for like a month and a half?
Yeah, that's true too. So, but yeah, I would have been fine with just seeing Dave's wife,
unless it was created beforehand.
Well, maybe.
Because like they could have been like, "Hey, can you create one for your dad? Hey, can you create one for Brianna?" So if they get like a family visit or something.
True. I always wonder about that with those things. Like, do they pre-produce them? Like, are you going to the location with letters already written and that sort of thing? I wonder that.
I think so, because I did hear on Big Brother Canada anyways that how they get photos in their head of household room.
Yeah.
I think it was Moose said like, "Oh, I didn't send him any photos of like my mom, or I only sent photos of like my dad and da." So I could definitely see that it's being done maybe beforehand, and as opposed to like sending out a crew while they're filming.
Yeah.
So Jordy talks about Sam's trickery, and he's trying to find out if he can get Michelle in on this. And Michelle is kind of thinking about it. Michelle is a little bit is swayed and really doesn't like the fact that Sam could have done this. And she does believe Jordy when he tells her this. So, I mean, yes, it's a good plan, as you said, to get Michelle in to side with Jordy, but it's just so late and she's just so inconsequential.
Yeah, she was on board with this sort of thing, the previous getting Josh out after Mel was targeting Josh and she lost her sister, and so she felt like she was on the out. So I'm not surprised that she's on board with it, but nobody's looking to align with Michelle. So it's kind of like, well, what's the point of utilizing Michelle at this point in order to get further? Because nobody, I think, really wanted to see her win because she hadn't done much. So you know, that's a number that is just kind of like, why?
So Michelle says that this is crossing the ethical guidelines. I did write eye roll because I'm like, ugh, ethical guidelines in Survivor, like it's not really there. She took his idol, but he also like this kind of trickery I don't think is bad for Survivor. You know what I mean?
No,
He shouldn't have let her have it, and he
all-
should have asked to play it.
Yeah, it's all in fair game. He should have held on to it and, you know, taken off his buff and carried it. And could have easily just taken off all his clothes and carried it in a pile and just said, "Oh, you
Put it
know,
around his neck,
yeah, I'm just
like you said.
I got it." Like whatever.
So Jordy wants them to split the vote on him and take out Sammy in a blindside, which I mean, he's definitely willing to risk that. And so I think that was a good try for him, you know, to suggest that, because then they wouldn't necessarily have to all turn on Sam and the other group, and they can just kind of like, you know, sneakily get in there. But these two aren't the strategists, so I can understand why they didn't actually go for it.
Yep.
So is this season better than 42? Hard to say.
It's still early with 42, but
the beginning of the season is better than 42 is right now, I'd say.
Yeah, if you're looking at it based off of the timeline, it was already very interesting within the first 3 to 6 days of Blood versus Water than what I've seen with 42. So
he's amazing. So Shay was my favorite after Sandra and her kid left. Oh, and Nina left. But now I want Mark to win. I don't understand Shay's game at all. She doesn't have a game. Just like win. She's there, and she's been just there for a while. Yeah, the whole season.
Agreed.
It was Jordy's dad's story that made me cry. The other ones were meh to me. What did Jordy's dad say? Oh wait, he's sick.
Jordy's stepmom passed away just prior to them coming on the show. They didn't really get a chance to process the loss with his dad, and so that was a really tough moment for them. And it's really good that he got the chance to hear from his dad and know that his dad's doing well. So yeah, that was Danielle. That was the same to me, because I feel like I'd be looking for news from home. Words of encouragement would be great, but I'd also be looking to make sure that people were okay. So I'd want to see that, and I like that part of it. But I agree, like Michelle's mom, you could have easily switched out Mel's name and all of that as well. Yeah, it's sometimes the family things are hit and miss.
Yeah, and you know what? Now that I'm remembering that story, I remember thinking like, oh, that's a really nice story. I'm happy that he was able to connect with his father. I remember thinking that, and then I was also thinking like, this is also would go towards a nice little winner's edit. Yeah,
agreed.
I want Sam to get busted so bad. Kind of do. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. She's so bad at lying, so I would love to see her like
exactly
fumbling. The wrong twin stayed in the game. Absolutely. I mean, the right twin left because they chose the one that could actually maybe do something. But yeah, agreed.
The wrong twins got added to the game. Let's just
your team. Am I winning in
our
rosters?
Yeah, you are. I'm not even paying attention to it anymore.
Wait, who do you have left? You have Shay,
Michelle, Chrissy, and Jordy.
I guess not so bad. And I have the cousins, Mark and Sam, and KJ. So we're even right now. I have Dave too.
You have Dave. Don't forget about Big Juicy Dave over there. Yeah.
So we have an immunity challenge now. Stand on a beam, hold a pole over your head, balancing a statue on the end. Yeah. This is, I feel like it was a man was going to most likely win this one because, like, you know, upper body strength in that way. I feel like it's a little bit more male centric. I wouldn't be able to do that for an hour and a half. Like,
no, me neither.
KJ definitely couldn't. She did it for 4 minutes. Chrissy and Dave were out at about the 6-minute mark. Then Michelle left, Sam, and then Mark is still, did he see out or is he still in the game? He had to move to another section, so I think Mark fell out at the 10-minute mark, and then Josh went out at the 20-minute mark. Is that how it worked? I'm trying to remember now.
Round
Well, no, they
yeah.
moved. They moved at the 10-minute mark and they were still in it, correct? Because Mark was the runner-up. No, lying.
Yes,
You
Mark was
omit
the
everything
winner.
that I'm saying. I'm thinking
Mark-
of another challenge. So Mark was
Mark
cheering
was
on Jordan because he was out of the game, and it was Jordan versus Jordy in that challenge at the final two. And remember, they kept on doing like the push up to push it back up. And like, so Mark was like, you got this, Jordan, you got this. And definitely like Jordy was saying like, oh, nobody's rooting for me. Nobody wants me to win this. And I thought that he would be very likely to win because he's skinny and, you know, he doesn't have these big bulky muscles that are kind of heavy. And he actually was off his winning streak. He won the car, but he did not win immunity here. And Jordy wins after more than 40 minutes of holding this up. It's impressive.
Go girl.
Go girl. That's my boy. He's my cutie. He's my crush this season. Little crusheroo.
I guess he is a cutie.
So Jordy cooks up a plan for revenge, and I was like, "Okay, Jordy, whatever. Let's go, Jordy. What are you going to try to do?
Yeah.
I'm here to see you try to mess things up for Sam because she gets so skittish." So we see Jordy talking to KJ, wanting to blindside Sammy. Jordy talking to Josh, waiting for Josh's decision, and I kind of wanted to see this work because the fact that Mark and Sam just don't ever even try to play an idol, it's just infuriating that like they're so comfortable and confident that they don't feel the need to play an idol.
Yeah, I just want to see something change. I want to see a little more excitement. I want to see them on their toes. I want to see how they have to react. Yeah, Agent Secret. Yeah, isn't it amazing? Good for Chantele. Fantastic. Let's move on. It's funny because I think, the person that I'm rooting for the most, maybe it might be on my team, but the person I think is going to win is on your team. So
I'm agreeing with you. Like the only chance for you to win right now, I would say, would be Jordy, and I think I have Mark and Sam as a possibility, depending on how things go down.
Yeah.
So Jordy was amazing. That man has so much heart and wanted to give up so much respect for him. Absolutely. I definitely respect him. And I think that he's a good player and he's somebody that will always be asked to come play any All-Star season. Like he's definitely made a mark in this season and as a player in general.
Should we be trying to do our podcast where we're having to like do the like an endurance challenge and see who like lasts to the end of the podcast? Like, should we be
today? Maybe not today, but
we could hear that I can do this.
We could do that if you want at one point. If we're on a tie or something, we need to break a tie. Like, okay, all right, it's time for immunity.
It'd be a really scary situation to watch.
I definitely am good at endurance stuff usually, so but maybe not arms over my head like that.
No, arms over my head, probably not. Standing on a pole, I could probably do, but I get really bored. So I'd want to get down because if I want to get down like halfway through where other people are down, so I could go talk to them and strategize versus trying to win something. A car, maybe.
It's hard to say. It depends on where I was in the game and like how much I needed it.
Yeah.
But definitely strategizing could be a good opportunity while people are stuck on a post talking to the other people that are outside or off the post or whatever. It would be good strategic thinking. So I want to play a game, I think.
We'll do it. We'll figure it out.
All right. So Dave and Michelle are going to go for a talk and they don't want to include Sam. And I'm like, why do you guys should still try to include Sam? Like, even if you don't believe her or like you want to blindside her, like you can't make her feel like you guys are plotting against her. You have to still include her or she's going to get all weird. And so Sam knows that they're talking about her. KJ thinks that Sam is getting all paranoid. And that's what I was annoyed with KJ. It's like, well, people are leaving her out of conversations. They're talking about her in conversations. Jordy is a man on the loose and really wants to stay in this game. Like, I can understand why Sam is feeling nervous in this way. So for people to be like, ugh, Sam again, when she does have a right in this place to be irritated or like nervous.
Yeah. The good part about Sam is she's there to play the game, and she wants to play the game, and it's great to see that she does. And her paranoia, while it might be annoying, is probably something that is needed. If she wasn't paranoid, they wouldn't really have much to do.
Danielle. Boom mic. Oh my god, I'd hate to be the boom person. Like, it's just so bad. But yeah, we could maybe do something like a broomstick. Not today, but next time maybe. It's a plan.
We'll figure it out.
I don't understand why they aren't going after the couples at this point. That is true. So we get to tribal. So Jonathan obviously asks, like, were you able to find some cracks? They're saying that this tribe is going to be juicy and that Dave is going to be juicy. It was not juicy at all. Dry.
He looks like jerky at this point.
Wait, say what? Say it again?
He looks like jerky at this point.
So like not juicy at all, dry,
not juicy at
dehydrated.
All. Dry. He's a little dehydrated piece of beef at this point. It's not even good beef.
So one thing that did come up that could have been juicy was that Sam, like with her rosy cheeks, when you know that her cheeks go rosy when she's lying or she's nervous, and she's like, "Well, you can empty up my bag," but then she's like, "But I'll only show it to like half the people." And I'm like, well, A, you shouldn't have your idol in your bag anyways. Like, no matter what, if you're trying to lie about it and say that you don't have it, like, you should not have it on you. And B, like, just not dump it out in front of everybody then. Like, that was definitely a power move that Boston Rob does, is like, empty your pockets, all that stuff. So the fact that she never ended up emptying her bag, I thought it made her look worse.
Yeah, she's not, like we said, she's not a good liar. And that move was just basically a tell. So everybody should have been going, okay, well, empty out the bag, but only do it if you're in front of us. Oh, you're not going to do that? Okay, well, then you got my vote.
Exactly. I would have pushed her because she offered up that information. I'd be like, okay, do it. I'm calling your bluff. Empty your bag.
Yeah. And Mark probably would have been sitting there going, yep, she's going to do it. And I'm going to get off on this one. It's not going to be me. I'm so happy.
Exactly. Right. That would have been a dead giveaway for me right there. Yeah. I was like, empty that bag and empty it in front of everybody. Like, you're putting like, I'll only show a couple people. Like, what does that mean? Why? So sketch. So we get to the vote. I believe I wrote this down correctly. Sam got 1 vote. Mark got 2 votes. It was end up being pretty much split between Jordy and Kate.
It was, you're skipping ahead. It was 8 votes for Jordy and 1 vote for Sam. This was the first majority vote, the unanimous vote they've had this season.
Sorry. Yes. Well, I have like all these things written down. I'm like, well, why do I have all that there? So why is because they're voting again right after. Yes, right. So the first time around was the one with Sam, was with Mark in there, correct?
The first time around.
The second time around, because that's when Michelle voted for Mark the second time around. Got it. I forgot. I said voting again, but I didn't understand what I meant. Okay, so Jordy's out the first time, and the second time, KJ ends up going out. And I knew that was what was going to be happening. Firstly, because I kind of got spoiled, which is like, people are so annoying with their thumbnails for their videos. Like, it was Sunday, and like someone was like, just had the 2 people that weren't Shay that were Purgatory was like the caption. And I was like, oh, okay, well,
no.
I know what happens there. But so I was like, oh, there's 3 people coming back from Purgatory. So I had an idea there.
Yeah, but KJ was on the outs of that whole group anyways. And in terms of strength, she's stronger than Michelle. So it wasn't a surprise that KJ was the second vote without having really much any discussion. But it's like they keep presenting them with opportunities to make moves, and they're just ignoring them. Like no moves are getting made. Like nobody is battling against this majority alliance. They're all just kind of going along with it. And KJ kind of seems like, oh well, I guess I just have to do this.
Exactly. So those two are out. They're going to go meet Shay over at Purgatory for the next episode. So they do surprise Shay in the nighttime. It's day 35. We do see Michelle having a confessional about Shay. Shay not being in jury when the jury came out. So I thought that was definitely going to be a dead giveaway when you just see the first four people, like, where's Shay? Like, oh, something must be going on. So I thought I'm happy that she at least noticed that. Like, I was like wondering if people would recognize that, hey, where's Shay? We see Mark and Sam chatting. They need to get the idol from Sam's bag and into Mark's bag. I don't know why it was ever in your bag, Sam. I don't know why it was in your bag and you would leave it with Jordy before at camp. Like, I would just never leave. Or why aren't you hiding it? Bury it somewhere. Not sure what her intentions were.
I don't know. She's got to be a little smarter about this, because maybe they have a little bit more respect in Australia. But if it was me there, I'd definitely be snooping. Yes. I'm not above digging through somebody's bag. I do it at work. I'm going to do it on Survivor.
You do it at work? No, you don't. Well, you know what? I've worked at many retail places where you had a bag check at the end of the shift. So
yeah. Well, I did this once as an activity at my work with students, where I said it's a game that I learned on a cruise ship, which was what's in your bag. And if you can produce these things out of your bag, I asked to see a condom, and the students were like, some were running up, and this one group was like, the girl who had her bag, she's like, I don't want to show. And I was like, you don't have to show, like, you don't have to hold it up, like, but I just need to see for you to be able to stay in the game. I just need to be able to see a condom. And it was a condom, but it was opened. It wasn't used. It was just out of its wrapper.
Ew, so it was just like
it's a condom that was out of the wrapper, and I was like,
loose condom.
Yeah, you get to stay in the game. Just throw that out afterwards. Go to the health center and get a new batch.
It's like, why do you still have that? That's a fun game, though. What's in your bag?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
that's what they should be playing on Survivor. They keep saying, "What's in your bag? What's in your bag?" Play the game. I'd be like, okay, here's a game I learned on a cruise ship.
So Danielle was like me, got spoiled on Twitter about Jordy and KJ. Was so mad. It just was like, and it was from a YouTube channel that like I don't even like, and I don't even watch their content. I just subscribe just to help them with their followers, and like I got spoiled this way. I was like, oh, man. So I unsubscribed. Just like, exactly. Brutal.
Good job, Danielle.
Brutal, though. So Josh doesn't believe that Sam has the idol, which is interesting. I'm like, really? Like, it seems obvious to me that she has that idol, but
I wouldn't trust him as a pilot then.
You don't think he makes sound decisions?
No.
Is he in the right seat?
Yeah, he hopefully he is. He can't be in the left seat if he can't figure out that she actually has one. It's so obvious.
Oh my God. It's like, the reason why we know that you are a first officer and not a captain is because you couldn't tell that Sam was lying.
Yeah, I'm getting on that flight and I'm looking in the cockpit and going, you better be on the right side, because I am not staying on this plane because you did not know that Sam had an idol.
I mean, though, it has some merit, not gonna lie. So Josh and Jordan are talking, and they decide that they should stick with the couple. Like, they kind of have to stick with the couple at this point, because as soon as they don't, then everybody definitely will group together. Like, I think that Sam and Mark are more likely to pick up the pieces of the outsiders if they are deceived by another couple. So I do think that they do have to stay together at this point. What do you think about that, though? Do you think it's time for one of the couples to turn against each other?
The days are getting numbered at this point, and if they have two idols, like even with one idol, you should be worried because that can mean one of them wins immunity. They're both safe to the next round, and the two of you are in danger of going. You should be looking at the other people in order to do this. And it seems like Josh especially has really good relationships, which is how he's able to get away from having the target on him. So if he can utilize people like Chrissy to help them get further in the game, they should try and make that move. But again, he doesn't think that Sam has an idol. So how much can you really trust his gameplay? I mean, he might be attractive, but sometimes it's not all up there.
Danielle says, though, so Jordy's brother, so Jesse was nodding his head. Yes, it was true.
Yeah.
Also, we don't know if that was happening in that moment. It could have been an insert, some B-roll there. So, because I don't think that he would actually be allowed to signal like that in the jury that like, like, I don't think that is allowed. They're supposed to be kind of an impartial, just a viewer. So,
and especially, in the Australian one, they seem to take the jury system a little more seriously, where they look more deadpan. Where in the most recent seasons of Survivor, we're seeing like, oh my God, this is actually happening, and making faces like, yeah, they did that. Yeah, look at me in the eyes. You're still in the game. I'm trying to tell you something. Like, Australian Survivor takes it a little more seriously, which is nice to see. It's kind of fun to see the jury look like almost bored, but they're not. They're living for this.
I mean, I would want to win, but if I made it to jury, I think it would be I would love to be part of the jury because my vote means something and I have a lot of sway, and it would just be.
I saw your final words from a game. I know what power you have, and this is why we would do very well together on the show, Chantele.
Let's do it.
So
definitely, I'm a bitter juror, but like I also I love being convinced of things.
Oh, it'd be so fun.
Yes, makes sense, damn editors. Yes, I mean, I do think I was an insert because I did think of that in the moment, but I'm like, no, but they wouldn't really tell their like the players like signaling like, yes, that's true. Like, I think that's really unfair. Yeah. Australian Survivor is really a different show because you have to guess if the person who is voted out is out of the game or not. That's true. That's very true. And the one thing though about like that is that I think it makes people play more scared.
Yep.
And yeah, you might have like a wow moment or somebody comes back in the game that you're trying to get out. Okay, cool. But the players in the game, they want to mitigate any, other options or variables. And so if they think, oh, maybe this person's going to come out, they might not make these big moves. And so I think that it's kind of like a double-edged sword with like putting in all these twists and stuff like that it makes people play less boldly because they have a fear that it's going to come and bite them in the butt right away.
Yeah.
So they need to get that figured out a little bit better. So we have an immunity challenge. So I still don't even remember this. So mud pit to ring toss.
Yeah.
And then second ring in the hay. Okay, yeah. This is what I was thinking of the last one.
They had to do the mud go through the mud pit, toss the ring. They get it. They move on to the hay bale. They get it. They move on to the slatted or the rope and get the ring off the rope. Get it on, you go to the final, and then you toss the fireballs. The final three toss the fireballs.
Such a feminine activity. All the women are going to be so good at pitching a fireball.
Yeah, I mean, I see the women every day doing this. Like, how did they not make it that far? It just seems so skewed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I was just assuming that it was going to be men that were going to be in the final round there because it was kind of qualifying, if I'm not mistaken, where the last person did not continue on to the next round. So it was. Wait, what is it? Apparently,
it was Mark, Jordan, and Josh in the finals 3.
Wait, what did I write here though? Apparently, there is. Oh, she couldn't. Okay, Chrissy didn't know what prejudice was and perjury was. What?
She could not. She couldn't pronounce it once they announced what it was. She kept calling it prejudice. Purgatory.
Purgatory. Right.
And then she Purgatory. It's everybody else is saying Purgatory when she couldn't even pronounce it. Another classic Chrissy moment.
It does remind me though. So when I was like probably about 12 or so, I was with my friend Anne, and we were like had a day together. We went like rollerblading, and we're gonna go see a movie. And I couldn't remember. We both couldn't remember how to say. Now I'm forgetting. Armageddon, and we're like Armageddon. Armageddon. We couldn't remember that it was Armageddon. And so I understand maybe a little bit what she experienced there, is that like sometimes you just like have a little mind blip and
sure.
you can't say words properly. So Armageddon is happening next. So what happened at the end? Mark won, correct?
Was it Mark got his 2 flaming balls into the pit. Good job, Mark.
Good job, Mark. So Mark is safe, and he's so happy having that necklace.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
Yeah.
I feel like he hasn't had to work hard.
Well, it goes back to the times at the tribal challenges where he had the piece of straw just hanging out of his mouth. It was kind of arrogant, and you wanted to be like, I want you to lose. And so him winning was kind of like, yeah, way to go, Captain Australia. He won. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting anybody else to really win. So it's pretty obvious that Mark was going to win this. They edited it as barely showing him miss any. Well, I think he just got 2 in a row. What, didn't he?
No, he missed a couple. It seemed like it took a little bit of time for them to get it, but him and Josh, I think, were the only 2 to get them in. Jordan didn't get any.
Well, maybe I remember both of them having 1, or all 3 of them having 1, and then Mark got 2.
Maybe.
This is just going by memory, though, so I don't know. 4th person going to Purgatory is what is being said. Oh, yeah, he kind of Jonathan let that out, and that's why Chrissy was talking about prejudice, perjury. So the Alliance decides on Dave. Dave is being voted out? Why did I write that?
They talked about needing to.
Oh, they were going to vote him out. That's true.
Yeah. I think they were thinking Michelle, like, who needs to go to prerogative, perjury, who needs to go to Purgatory, and they didn't want to send any of their big players, so they thought if they send Dave, he might have a better chance of, I think, getting back in, which is interesting because Dave has not won anything.
Well, and I think he's also just like, he potentially could be competitive, potentially, but he's also somebody clearly that they don't care about. So exactly. It's like, let's get rid of him. So yes, I agree. Australian Survivor seems much more hardcore. They have all kinds of crazy bugs there, don't they? I believe they have a lot of poisonous things. I don't think where they are, I guess, has those.
Yeah, I was talking. Bugs. So I have a coworker, she's from Australia, and I was asking her some questions about the general area. And she said it's not uncommon for them to walk up on like a giant spider, and the giant spider could be something that you have seconds. You're like counting down the minutes until you have to be at the hospital. Like they have very dangerous spiders, snakes, animals out there. It just doesn't seem like they've been maybe in this spot of Australia where they're really prevalent, or maybe they have what I think they call them bush tuckers. Maybe that's a name of a snake. I can't remember what they're called, but people who are actually helping to control the population of animals to make sure they stay safe.
Yeah, they definitely have somebody probably on guard taking note of the perimeters to make sure there's no deadly insects and whatnot.
Yeah, I'd rather hold the boom mic, but I also don't want to hold the boom mic if it means that I might get bit by a spider.
Terrifying. It's pretty obvious that just kidding. Now Miss Zen Henry from like a couple seasons ago.
Yeah, Henry.
I liked Henry this first season. I didn't like him his second season. Is that what happened?
I didn't really care too much for him in general. Like he just seemed like that arrogant guy that I just don't want around. But he was a good character. Like he played hard. He was a super big threat in both games that he played because he is really good at the game. But I don't miss Zen Henry at all.
Oh wait, was that what he was? Oh yeah, he was pretending that he was a yoga instructor, and
Yeah, yeah, because he had like dreads and he wore like a I don't know, like a long scarf or something like that. I'm like, great. I don't get why people lie about their jobs. That's one thing I never understand about some of these games is like, why do
well,
you lie about your jobs? If you think your job is the whole reason that you're there, then like get a life. Like try and figure out some other interests that you might have.
but okay, so like this is an interesting conversation because I do a lot of different things,
yeah,
but I definitely don't usually lead with the fact that I've been an actor my entire life because in casting, they're always like, oh, you just want to get on TV. And so there's a negative connotation around that. And then
yeah,
also though, with actors, they always think that you're lying all the time or that you're going to be a good liar. So I think that leading with that, people may distrust. Same with
yeah.
lawyers being able to argue other sides. Like I can see people not wanting to admit that they're lawyers until maybe near the end of the game because they feel like they could spin the truth and like whatnot, and like they have an advantage or what, and that people would judge you and all your actions through that idea that you're an actor or a lawyer or whatnot. So I can understand why you might want to have a profession like a healthcare worker that so that means they're loving, giving, that they work for others. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I get what you mean. It'd be tough for me to explain that my job is pretty much to create events for students, and I just call myself an event manager. And I think that people would, I hope people wouldn't think it's like, well, he has to strategically think about every single detail.
This is CD's point, is that he took out Sam and Mark. I don't remember.
Oh, okay. I'm back on with you, CD. I agree. I miss him for that reason as well.
I was thinking when I was picturing Henry, I was picturing when he was like trying to give, what is that football player's name, the idol, like during the challenge or something, Matt. Or yeah, Matt. Yeah. That's the scene that popped up with Henry for me. So I completely forgot about him taking out Sam and Mark. So I'm with you. I miss Zen Henry too. I met Henry a few times and he's so humble. He is now working as a teacher. I think he said he was a teacher the second time around, wasn't he?
Could have. I didn't pay attention to him.
Oopsies. All right. So Josh wants to burn Sam and Mark's idol. So the one that they know about, especially since Mark has immunity. And so I think this is a good plan. Like you should definitely try to get rid of those idols. Because they become more powerful. Obviously, the less people that are in the game, it could mean that they're going to get to the final four, depending on how late they can play it. But they can get two of them into one round. That would take two people out. So yeah. I definitely think it's time for them to try to flush an idol.
It would have been nice.
Wait, what am I talking about here? Josh telling everyone 3 votes?
So his thought was tell 3 votes. It was going to be 3. He wanted it to be Chrissy, Dave, and Michelle voting for Sam. And then Jordan, Mark, and Sam, I think, were voting for Michelle or Dave. And then he was going to be the 7th vote. And he was going to be either on Michelle or Dave, whoever was going to be in the minority. So I think it was going to be Sam versus Michelle. And so he wanted to force that tie. So either he flushed an idol and Michelle still went, or they could do a revote and they could then decide what he wanted to do. So he wanted to have control over the vote.
But it didn't end up working. So Decoy Dave is talking to Mark. I really thought that Mark should be playing, like, no matter what. So Sam is really nervous about this idol, right? I was thinking, like, no matter what, Mark should just play Sam's idol or Jesse's idol for Sam, right? Like, why can't he do that? Like, why? And then if they need to use the other one after, then obviously the cat would be out of the bag. But I just don't understand why Sam would need to play the idol for herself. Why couldn't Mark play both idols for Sam?
Well, what's an interesting thing, and I just thought of this now, is that when they play an idol, the idol typically goes back into play. So if they play the idol and they think that it's going back into play, they could easily just say, "Oh, we found the idol," and then not make anyone think that the idol is out there. Because I think that's what Ben or Dominic or somebody did in one of the later 30s seasons. And it's a smart strategy to make people think that this idol is not out there anymore. And so they'll stop looking. So they basically cancel out another one and they still got their one in the back pocket.
And they can just like go on a fake little expedition and maybe they'll find another one, who knows? But at least then, like, they can even be like, "Oh my God, look what I found." You know what I mean? They could just pretend like they found the idol.
And then it discredits Jordy. And if he gets back in, everybody would then maybe believe Sam even more. But the fact that she's still not owning up to it, or it's not being played, Mark's idol is not being played, is making them probably trust her less and less. And she needs to build some credibility.
That would be a really smart plan. So play one of the damn idols, pretend it's being recirculated, pretend to find it, and then you will be off. Like you know, people will stop you looking at you as being so deceitful, and you might be able to gain some favor in some people. So, but the thing is, though, she might end up losing the votes again, though, if she's in the final tribal and Jordy and Jesse asks directly.
True.
So that could be bad, but who knows how this is going to all play out? Actually, probably only one of two ways, pretty much.
Yeah.
So Sam talks with Chrissy and Michelle and about wanting to vote out Dave. And that's the thing, is like Michelle isn't even, I guess she's self-preservation here, but you know, she shouldn't want to vote out Dave. Like, it shouldn't be so easy. Like, Chrissy even shouldn't be so easy to like write Dave's name down. Especially because Dave is in an alliance with Chrissy. I would think that maybe there'd be a little bit of pushback here. So I was surprised that, you know, Sam was like, it's going to be Dave. Like, not, especially with Michelle still in the game.
Maybe there was, and maybe we're just not seeing this, but yeah, Chrissy seems to have gone from really caring about the people who are leading the game to really not caring about it at all. Like, she was so hard pressed when Croc wanted to go after Jesse, and then she had zero problem with voting out Jesse when that came up. Like, her allegiances seem to lie strictly with Mark and Sam or Mark and Josh, and her just kind of going with it is kind of hard to watch in some ways, because she seemed to have such priority over some people that could have really made her game stand out even more. And she's now like, and it's weird saying that about Dave, because Dave's game doesn't stand out for anybody, but it's not a move that she should be willing to make so easily. She needs Dave, unless she really thinks that she's that split between the two couples. Like, she is the person in the driver's seat between the two couples. So,
Chrissy, come on.
I know. I wanted a t-shirt with Chrissy's face on it, but now I'm just kind of like, well, should I?
Well, maybe with it saying like Purgatory.
Yeah.
That's
I'll
funny.
just like her really scared face is like
Purgatory.
Purgatory.
So Dave goes on an idol hunt. Sam follows. I'm like, Sam, why are you following him? You know he's not gonna find a damn idol. Like, leave him alone. Why did I write an alliance idol? All right, don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Okay, so we get to tribal, and Jonathan wants to know: is it going to be the 6 strong together, or 6 strong tonight? Or is it going to break? And so, yes, we think that it's going to break tonight. But there's some seeds of doubt that have been kind of placed in there. So how was it that it all got switched to Michelle instead of Dave? Like, what happened there?
I feel like there was maybe zero interest in that actually taking place. Like, that strategy that Josh had, he probably didn't have the support to do it, because he's looking for people to do it, but he's not willing to take the risk himself. So I think people just want to go with the flow. You know, we said we were going to be the 6. Let's stay the 6 and vote Michelle out and send her out, because we shouldn't be turning on each other as quickly as that. So
Yeah, and I think that, even though they were thinking that it should be Dave, I do think it's better for them to keep Dave in the game just to build a little bit that they're less like sneaky and like not like Dave has been so supportive of them for so long. It would be a really bad look, and I think it could tank a lot of their games by making that move this early. So that's why I would do it, but I just was so surprised. But I think the reason was, though, in the end was because they realized that they want to have numbers depending on who's going to come back. And
Absolutely.
Even Chrissy had a little confessional thinking like she thinks that at least 2 people are going to come back. And everybody's saying at least. And then I was like, I already saw the little clip thing, so I knew that there was going to be 3 people. But 3 people coming back, like that's ludicrous.
I was looking at it based off the number of days that we have left in the game. And I was thinking, okay, well, we're at 35, 36, and we still have 11 days to go. They can't do this without 9 people. Like, they've got to bring 3 people back. And it's kind of like, well, that sucks. Like, I would have been okay with 2. I mean, I don't know. I think I just would have been okay with 2 just because it's like, it's half the people that were there, and typically half of the people that are in that exile sort of battle back are the ones, like, it's usually 1. So to bring back 3, I think maybe it's the producers realizing, like, we've got like a Toggy tribe that's just pagonging everybody at this point, and nobody really loves watching that. So
it's annoying. I agree. Like, it's not fun, but they ended up switching their votes to Michelle, and pretty unanimously, Michelle is voted out of the tribe. Obviously, she put her vote on to David.
yeah.
So we go over to Purgatory. They think that Dave is the only person that would flip. Jordy is hyping everybody up, saying like, whoever goes back in, we have to like make sure that we go back and attack. And like, so I thought that this was good. Like, if I was on Purgatory, like, obviously I'd want myself to make sure they got back there, but I would be hyping up like how bad the people are on the beach and like how they voted you out. Like, we need to stick together. We need to do something to move forward. Like, so we don't come back here. Like, so I think he's doing the right thing. Obviously discussions of what they're going to do once they get back. Purgatory players get a featured confessional. Do they have like a moment where it's like,
yeah, it's kind of like they're walking through the forest sort of thing?
Oh, kind of like the torch walk at the final 3 on regular Survivor.
Yeah.
So what happened next? Purgatory people join. Jordy is pretending it was, what am I, luxury? What, I don't even know.
Yeah, he started out by saying it's like, oh yeah, there's lots there, and then there's like, no, there's nothing. We slept in dirt. Like, it's awful.
Right. Like, nobody's going to believe that Purgatory was amazing, Jordy. But they are going to be competing in a trial. It's going to be the first 3 people are going to be getting back in the game. And I agree with you here, Danielle. 3 people's too many. And, it's just so many of the people, I agree with you, Danielle, that didn't get a chance to come back. That I would have rathered some of them got a chance to come back. Like, Khan would have been interesting if he got a chance to come back. Who else? I would prefer Melissa over Michelle getting a chance to come back. Like, just people that were doing stuff.
It would have been, I know they do this during the jury. They usually have like a halfway point where they bring somebody back and it's a select group of people, but would have been nice if it started with the jury. Like, maybe not necessarily Purgatory was so bad, maybe they just went and lived at the previous camp or something. Like, they weren't out of the game, and then that group of 7 or whatever, or that group of 6 versus the other 6 that were left in the game, they got to do their trial and they brought in those 3 people, because then it would have maybe shifted things up a bit if it was like Khan and Mel and one of the, like, Shay or something like that. Like, dynamics would have been far different than just the people who were voted out in the previous like 2 or 3 days.
Exactly, because they're coming back into the exact same dynamic they were just kicked out in. So Joshua has a good point, and I agree. So yeah, if they're going to be doing 3 people coming back, then all the jury should have had a chance to come back. I agree, but then they do need to have people sitting in the jury, so that would be a little bit challenging, obviously. But I just like I would just be so sour if like I got voted out on the time where like there's no like buyback or there's no like go to purgatory or there's no like they do it often, and so it would just suck if like yep, you're really done. Yeah. See ya. Bye.
Yeah.
So yeah, what Ron said, start purgatory at the first person of the jury. Yeah. Well, but then how long? They wouldn't get a chance to see the juries. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Well, that would have been an interesting maybe twist of Khan is voted out after the merge, and you're wondering then when is the jury actually going to start? Because you would have thought it was the first person at the merge that was going to, and then you get to 6 and you're like, there's still no jury. Who's deciding who the winner is and all this? Might have added a little bit more dynamicism to their decisions.
Well, and you know what else? Then the people that are voted out that go to purgatory, they can retell what happened in their tribal council. So,
yeah.
Or maybe they could do it like Big Brother. They have like a video.
That would be fun.
Have like
or
a little like
on Edge of Extinction, where like they get voted out and they just go over to the edge sort of thing, and they're just waiting for their chance to get back into the game. And yeah, they just got to retell about what happened so everybody can hear what happened. Then it's interesting too because it's your story and it's your side of what happened, and you can like maybe have a little bit of more influence on the jury if you're somebody who might get a chance to get back in, versus them sitting at the jury and having everybody else say like, well, we got to get them out because they're not part of the alliance. Like you could have that moment with the people to build those relationships.
I think we should all be on the production team for these challenges. Like I actually would love that as a job. I think I don't know how to get into it at all. I was looking at one point because I know that MTV or CBS is doing the challenge, and I was like trying to see if I could find a job at like in Argentina working on the show, like just because like maybe they would be hiring, but I couldn't find anything on LinkedIn. I feel like
when I was graduating high school in 2004, I applied for colleges and universities, but I also applied to be a dream team member. And I sent in like an application, which I read about online, which was how to get in. And usually it's just people that are friends of the production team. But I actually wrote out like a resume, and I was like, I'm a camp counselor. I'm a big fan of the show. I'd love to travel instead of going to school. This would be a really good opportunity because you can't let Canadians on the show. I never heard back, but I sent it to Mark Burnett Productions. So.
I would love to be part of the dream team. Oh my God, for all of these things. I want to try out all these challenges. Like,
right? And they were letting you do other things, like you'd work in the art department, you'd work in production, you'd work in craft services. So you kind of get to experience other things with it too. I thought that was like a job of a lifetime. And I was so wishing that I could have gone and done it. I would have been scared shitless doing it though, but I was excited about the prospect of it. I would have, and by that point it was 2004, so it could have been Vanuatu or Guatemala or Panama. Like I could have seen some pretty cool places.
Well, you should apply now again.
Yeah, they just need to see my jiggly butt running all over the screen. That's what they need to see.
It's not fair. Nobody complained about Haley when she came back in the game. I mean, I complained in general that it was only 2 people that were competing in that. I was just kind of like, what? Like, I definitely complained in the sense that like I don't love people coming back. But I'm more so in complaining that it was 3 right now.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten over the fact that with Australian Survivor, people are always coming back. People are going to the tribe. Like I'm getting used to that. If it was regular Survivor US, I'd probably complain more. But I know that this is a part of Australian Survivor's culture of the game. But I was annoyed though that she only had to compete against one person to get back in the game. I was like, that was pretty easy for her. So, but then I was also thinking like, oh, she has a tough battle ahead of her. Like I don't see her really being able to change her fate here. So I also didn't think that she was set up in a really good place for her to excel. So she played better than I expected her to, coming from an exile type island thing. So they have to compete in this trial. First 3 to complete it are going to get back in the game. I knew that Michelle was not going to get back in the game. Basically, they had to make these polls and then tip their ball off the pole and down like different ramps, different heights, and get it into a bucket. It was a decently hard challenge, I guess, but I knew that Michelle was not going to win, and so coming back into the game are Jordy and KJ and Shay. So they will be re-entering back in the game. Jordy obviously secured the first spot, Shay the second, and KJ the third. That's also the order that I expected them to go back into the game in.
For sure.
And then we have Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Yeah, she's so proud of everyone. Pizza, brownies, and cookies. She takes off her buff and throws it into the fire. And then they all get their torches lit in the fire because they're back in the game. So those were the last 2 episodes. So I agree. I can't remember who said it earlier on, but like really 3 episodes to lose Michelle.
Yeah. I know. Oh, it just seems like such a waste.
Right? It pains me that Michelle had to throw her buff in the fire. Those Aussie buffs are like gold. The Blood versus Water merge buff is going for $499 on eBay. Crazy. I'm sure that they would allow her to get a buff.
I'm sure they'll give it back. It's just symbolic, but it would be nice to keep the one that you have. Although I hear that they smell disgusting after they get back.
And I don't think that the smell ever comes out.
No.
It's just like body odor for days.
Literally. Ethan said that after his run on Panama, he had his clothes sitting in a bag for a few years, and then after when he started going through cancer, I think he had to throw it out because the smell, he could just smell it, and it was awful to have to deal with. So he had to throw his clothes out, which is a regret. And then after Edge of Extinction, his clothes smelled worse, but he keeps them in a bag so that he can have the reminder of it. And I was like, I get it, but ew.
I would probably keep it too, but sealed Ziploc.
Yeah, for sure. Just to look at. No smells.
So was there anything else about these 2 episodes that you wanted to talk about before we say good afternoon?
No, I hope to see some changes. I mean, I did watch the episode that came out today already, so I won't spoil anything about it, but I hope to see some changes at some point. And, we still got 10 days left now. The game is almost done. It's crazy because while I love how long Australian Survivor is, I'm like looking forward to the ending of it because I just want to see who is going to reign supreme after this season. And I think whoever gets it is going to win, and they're going to be a good winner. So I'm not going to complain too hard about that.
No, and I do think that, yes, Mark and Sam's game was kind of boring, and I think that Sam kind of allowed Mark to have a better game than she's having. But I do want to see how it all shakes out. I agree with you. Like, I'm like, how is this going to actually end? How are they going to handle themselves in the final tribal councils? Like, is Josh and Jordan going to maybe turn on the couples when these new people come back into the game? So it will be interesting to see what's going on because Jordy does have a little bit of numbers now, because if he could pull in Chrissy and Dave, they would have the majority 5-4. And I mean, Josh would probably have to go because the threat of those idols might be scary for everybody else. And so they might have to go for Josh or Jordan, but it could be interesting gameplay and a lot of Jordy running around trying to make things happen. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Agreed.
Shay, I don't know about this. Shay might be the winner. I just don't see her getting there unless she just wins her way to the end.
Yeah.
I don't know if she can get the votes, though, at the end, though.
It's going to be a really tough battle for her.
Well, thanks, Ron, for being here with me today. First day of spring. Everybody, please subscribe to Reality Realness and be part of the fun. Thank you for being here in the chat. You guys are always so fun. You always know all the tea, which is really exciting. That's what I really do enjoy, is that like people that are engaged in all of reality TV, just like we are, like you know everything about Survivor, but like everybody knows everything about everything, which is what I really, really love. So thank you for being here with me, Ron, today, and everybody in the chat. Thank you so much. And in the comments, if you're watching the replay, how about you let us know who are your top 3 to win? So who do you think is going to win for sure? Who do you think is going to be maybe second place? And who do you think is going to be, if it's 3 people, a no vote finalist? So who are your top 3 right now? Obviously, without any spoilers if you already watched the next episode. So let us know that. Please like this video if you're seeing it in the replay, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.